Hello everyone, and in this presentation we'll be discovering what Twinmotion is and how to use it to create compelling visuals. I'm Greg Benson-Shettle from Greytech, and before we get started, let's have a brief overview of who Greytech are. Wow, and that's Greytech. Yeah, we're bigger than you might have thought. So, my name's Greg Benson-Shettle, as I mentioned, and I am one of the many experienced Autodesk certified trainers here at Greytech. A little about myself. Prior to becoming a trainer, I ran a commercial CAD studio for some 15 years, providing drafting, 3D modeling and animation services to a broad range of clients and industries, from the architectural sector, both exterior and interior design, service providers, MEP, naval architecture, product designers, and now for over 10 years I've been sharing that experience as a trainer, delivering courses on a weekly basis. So I've had the privilege of training probably several thousand industry professionals like you. Okay, let's take a look at what we're going to be discovering in this course. So we're going to see how we can get our Revit model into Twinmotion, experience better quality materials over the out-of-the-box materials that offered in Revit. So we're going to look at how to get it, how to explore it, obviously, and then look at Twinmotion rendering. What is Twinmotion? Well, it is a 3D rendering program, and it provides a fast, realistic, visual, real-time rendering opportunity. It is its own standalone program. However, it has links to most of the 3D packages. Okay, so when we're looking at this, what we'll find is we're working with our Revit, but at the same time we will have lots of links with the actual Twinmotion environment as well. Now, one of the fantastic things is you have this. If you have got an Autodesk AEC collection, you own this product already. Okay, you've got it. So you can right now take advantage of this program. Now there's 3D CAD plugins for other programs as well. Okay, and it allows you to do this model synchronization. So whilst there's quite a few of these live renderers available, they're all at different price points, and each have got their strengths and weaknesses. Now I said weaknesses there, but in all reality they are all really, really good. Okay, but the very fact that you've got this one effectively for free because you've already purchased your AC collection, yeah, that's quite a compelling reason why it may be worth investing some time in learning how to use it. Now, one of the reasons it's so quick is because it's actually using a gaming engine from Epic Games. Okay, and this provides a very fast, real-time rendering environment that we'll be able to work in. And it works very, very well. You know, I'm going to be working on the basis that, well, you have the AC collection. So you have it. So we're going to look at how we can actually get it. All right. How do we actually get hold of this product? So go off to your manage.autodesk.com. That's an easy address to remember to get into your Autodesk account. So once you've signed in to your Autodesk account, go over to your all products and services, as you see here. Right. Now, to find your Twinmotion, easiest thing to do is to make good use of this search field here. So let's start typing in the word twin. Here we go. And you'll notice it's not an install button immediately, it is an access button. So we click on access. This is then taking us over to the twinmotion.com site. Okay. Now, you will need to sign in, okay, and you can use the same login as you set up for your actual Autodesk products as well. Okay, so you always want to sign in, and then you can sign in and you can create an Epic Games account. Okay, or you could use one of these many other accounts if you've already got one. Okay, so as you can see, Greg.Benson-Shettle at greytech.com, and I've used a password, of course, and login. And we're back on the page. So now that we've logged in, and we've logged in using our same credentials as we have for our Autodesk account, we can find out a little bit more about Twinmotion. What do you need? Now it says here you got a graphics card and you need a minimum of 6 GB. Okay, 6 GB. We'll come back to that thought in a moment. Hard disk space, 30 gig of free space recommended. Download time, 15 minutes. Obviously that's a guesstimation based upon your own local networking capacity. So let's find out where we go off and get it. Okay, so scrolling down, what's going on? Twinmotion is available for download on the Autodesk page. So it sent us back here, and we go Twinmotion again. Access. And now we get back to this page. But this time it's actually recognized that we are logged in. We can sell this from up here on the top right-hand side. Okay, so you'll notice there are 2 versions available. We have the 2023.1.2 version available, and there's also 2022.2. So the 2023 version will work with Revit 2024, and the 2022 version was going to work with Revit 2022. Okay, point one. Okay, so you can then download these. Some further information about what you need to get the best out of Twinmotion here. We are going to be looking at, it says here, graphics card, at least 6 gig. Now, on my graphics card, mine is quite a low-powered graphics card. It is an RTX range from NVIDIA, as you see listed down here, but it's only got 4 gig. So it will run, but with a certain amount of limited capacity. It may not be as fast in certain areas, and you've also got some high-end tracing capabilities with Twinmotion called path tracers, and so for that you really do need much higher end. In fact, you'll notice if we look a bit further, for the path tracing you're going to need an 8 GB graphics card to get the best out of this. Another thing you will need is make sure that you have DirectX 12 latest drivers installed. So those are the basics of what you need hardware-wise. Obviously, Windows 10 or 11, 64-bit, naturally. Okay. So then you can install that, and you then get your downloads. So let's go and take a look at what this actually looks like. So here we are. You can see that I have a Twinmotion opportunity right here, or if I go to my start menu, you'll notice I do actually have 2 versions of Twinmotion installed. I'm going to go with the latest version. So we click on here and see what this looks like. You may notice that scene if you have been running 2024. It is the scene that comes with, it's the new demo scene that comes with Revit 2024. Here we are in Twinmotion, and what we're looking at here is one of these sample projects. It's called the Lake House Retreat. So when you download and install your Twinmotion, you should have this available to you, and it's a really good asset to get used to it. Now, for navigating around your scene, you can use many of the Revit familiar tools, so you can rotate and swing around and things like this just by rotating in the normal fashion. Now, I had a little bit of a hesitation there while my graphics card was catching up. Okay, so I'm just using standard middle mouse button plus shift to do that. Or you'll notice up here you've got some navigation tools available. So these are gaming style navigations, okay, that you can use. And I do recommend learning how to use these. It takes a while, but so we can move forward, we can move up, and we can move down. Okay, and then we can move forward. And if you couple this with a left or a right mouse click, you can see that you can move around. We can also adjust the speed at which we do that by using the numbers 1, 2, 3, or 4. Oh, well, actually now we're all the way up to number 6, so we can alter the speed at which we navigate through. So now we can see this is a little slower, and we can navigate around our scene quite nicely. Okay, and we have some nice features in here. Obviously, look at that, opening windows and doors as we approach them. Okay, so it's all very nice. Let's go through here. So these are the kind of assets that you can bring in, and so you could bring in a Revit file. We'll have a look very shortly at how we do that. We can control the atmosphere, the time of day, the ambience, the weather conditions, the location. So all of these are giving us the tools that we need to be able to set the scene for what we want to do. And there's lots of special effects that we can add as well. Okay, so this is a typical scene of how your Twinmotion model could look. Okay. Right, so thinking about our Revit model, how do we get our Revit model into a scene and build that up? Let's take a look. We'll swing over to Revit right now. So here we are in Revit, and we're going to take a look at how we can actually use this in combination with our Twinmotion program. So Twinmotion, of course, why are we using programs like Twinmotion? Well, it's so that we can improve on our visual content, our rendering capacity. Because whilst Revit has got reasonable tools, let's face it, a lot of the time we end up having add-on programs to produce better results. And we might actually then take things out to other programs such as 3D Studio Max, for example. When we are thinking about rendering, we go to the View tab. And so there you've got your render teapot. But look what's built in here. So it's not in the add-ons, okay, because it's actually built into Revit. Right, so here we have Twinmotion. There's a drop down, and we've got various options. We can export it out as a separate datasmith file. That's another format that you can use. But of course, we could simply click on this button here that says Open in Twinmotion. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I only have a 4 GB graphics card, so you'll need to bear with me. So, first time round, you will have some choices. Is it going to be a brand new project, or are we going to link to an existing project? Now, also, this is key. This area here, this is about the hierarchy. Now, the hierarchy is all about how our Revit model is actually put together. So if we think about it, we've got keep hierarchy, collapse by material, collapse everything. Okay. So naturally there's a hierarchy within all of the families. We have the system families, the hosted families, and so on and so forth. Now, one common way that people do this is they do collapse by material. So that means that when we take this into Twinmotion, if we want to replace a certain wood for another wood, a better quality image of wood, then using the collapse by material will mean that anywhere where you have that material, it's actually going to be replaced. So we can, if we collapse by material, we can quickly swap out all of the materials for a Revit material over to a Twinmotion material, and we instantly get a much better result. However, there's a caveat on that. If you have different materials, or rather different objects with the same material on them, it will mean that the same material is being replaced throughout. And during my training course, we have a look at the different aspects of this. There are some other settings in here which we don't need to worry about, and we could go ahead now and click on OK. Now what I'm actually going to do, so that you can get a good idea about the presentation, is I'm going to go to an existing project instead. So I'm going to be linking this to an existing project. It will then ask me to choose the particular scene that I need to use. So click on the Twinmotion file that I already have for this, and it's linking through. Okay, so I'm not just opening up Twinmotion. During this whole process, it is linking between the Revit and the Twinmotion environment. And this will mean that if I make a change to my Revit model, it's going to be updated in the Twinmotion model. I'm just going to pause while this opens up. And here we are in our wonderful Twinmotion. So, well, let's take a look. I'm going to be navigating around the scene. We can use, in fact, many of the tools that we would have for navigation as we have in Revit, so you can be used to those. However, I want to highlight to you right now that we've got these tools up here. So we've got Orbit, Pan, Look Around, and here you can see that we've got the WASD options, which is typical gaming options, because of course this is based on a gaming platform. Okay. So I can use my W and zoom in. Now we can actually adjust the speed of this, which turns out to be quite useful. So how we actually go about manipulating this. Okay. So here's the scene, and you can see we've got some assets in here, such as some people and some cars. And you'll notice that one of the things I really love about Twinmotion is these people. Okay, because the Twinmotion has got a massive, massive asset library. And when we click on these people, we have lots of options. Now, there's a properties palette over the side, which is more like a scene palette. Okay, and we can have one or two together. So I'm just going to click on this button and do that. But look at this. You can have different ideals about what they're actually going to be doing. So I can change what they do and change how they look. And many of the content that we can add to our scene have got these options. Yeah, I can have a laying down. Or she can dance. So you've got these kind of tools as well. All right, so let's just take a look at some of the other aspects, such as obviously the materialistic side of things, which is what is really important. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. Let's take a look at a few other environmental tools that we could use. So let's think about the actual ground around us. Okay, so you can see here that I've been able to include different plants and grasses and shrubs and trees, and also develop other areas where we've got mounds and hills and introduce sorts of rock, and we've even got some fishes in our little pond over here as well. So we can sculpt the terrain. Okay, we can sculpt the terrain. And let's see how that works. So I'm going to actually just click on the ground. And we get these sculpting tools available, okay, by clicking on the ground. So we can raise and we can dig, and then there's a few other finite tools as well. But let's just take a look at the raise tool. So we have a diameter. So on screen you may see these two circles. So we've got a main area which then spreads out, and we've got intensity settings as well. So I'm just going to go with the default and look, click, and look, the longer I hold, the bigger it gets. All right, and of course there we can see that it's coming through. Now we just undo that. Now of course you might only want to do it gently, or reduce the intensity. So if I reduce the intensity, you know, it's coming up very gently, and I'm not producing the rocky enclaves that we were seeing there as well. Okay. Now we can also dig. Right? So if I then dig, this is then going to take it down. And if I keep on digging, I'm going to get lower, lower, and lower. And again, depending on the way that you move your mouse around, you can decide on the depth and the intensity, and also the size and the diameter of these elements as well. Okay. So we can sculpt our terrain quite easily, just simply by clicking on it and then changing it. As you can see here, we've got some kids playing, some children having fun playing around, and these are assets that come with Twinmotion as well. So I mentioned about environment. So let's have a think about the environment, meaning what time of day is it? And also, what time of year is it as well? So let's move out to an area where we can see the building and also some of the foliage of the surrounding trees. Something like that. There we are. So I've got a little eye icon here, and there's a sun setting. Let's click on the sun. So this will allow us to change the time of day. So we've got, it's at the moment, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning in this particular location. By the way, we can change the location as well, but just by clicking and dragging, or you can click in here, you can set the time. So what does it look like at 1400 hours? Okay, let's have a look and see if we can drag this around. Let's have a look. Now, nothing appears to be happening. Okay, it's getting brighter and darker. There's something very odd going on. Let's find out. And click on Ambiance and HDR. Right. We have something called sky domes and also HDR backgrounds. Now these are controlled scenes that you can add as to add extra atmosphere to your scenes, and you can also disable them. So if I disable this one as well, and let's try this again. There we are. So now we're using the raw Twinmotion tools, and you can see, depending upon the time of day, the sun is moving around, and we've even got the moon coming in here as well. Yeah. Let me just spin this around slightly, get a better effect on here. So it's around 6 o'clock in the evening, and we're going to go slightly later and later and later. So it must be in the summertime because it's still fairly light. So here's our dusk scenes, and then even the moon has come out as well. Okay, and as we go through, the moon is even moving across the sky. Okay. So we have those types of tools. What else can we do? We also have weather. So you'll notice in here we've got weather settings. Let's see what this does. We're getting more and more, it's getting cloudier and cloudier and cloudier. And now we've actually got it raining. Okay, so we've actually got it raining. Now let's couple this with this seasonal setting below. Okay, so as we go towards the snowman, we're actually getting the rain is now becoming sleet and snow. So you can create images, or you can create recordings and visuals, animations using this feature. It does an autosave, which has come up as it always does during a demonstration. But there we are. But as you can see, we have this environmental setting. Now, if you didn't notice, let's look at these trees in the background. See, all the summer foliage has disappeared. Let's bring it back to summer. And as you can see, even the trees are adjusting according to the weather, the actual season. Yeah. So there we have summer. And if we look, we can see the change in the colour here. It's coming into autumn. And then as we head towards winter, those trees have actually lost all of their foliage. Of course, the evergreens are evergreen as well. So how do we set up? We've got all of these assets, and we can add all of these people and vehicles. Yeah, you've got characters here, so you can add groups of people. Look at these groups of peoples. You can add posed humans. We've got children, sports, shopping, construction people. Yeah. The library is just massive. The assets that you get with Twinmotion are quite incredible. Now, I've used other live renderers that are out there. The main ones are Lumion, Enscape, and Twinmotion. And I've used Lumion, but when it comes to the supporting asset library, wow, Twinmotion just takes it away. It really does. You can add so much content so easily with these tools. I mentioned you've got these things like Sketchfab and Megascans. These are high quality renders. You need to typically be logged in to download some of these. They're all free. It comes with it. But you can download whole things. Look, even architecture. You can bring in whole cathedrals and scenes and bedrooms and whole cities. So you can create a fictional cityscape, a nighttime cityscape, bring in a room. The possibilities, they are endless. It sounds like a cliche, but it is so true with what Twinmotion offers you. And remember, if you have got the AEC suite, you have got this right now. All you have to do is use it. Okay. Now, if we suppose I want to change what we have on this wall. So you'll have a material library. Now if I click on materials, you can see here we've got this huge list of different types of materials, roof coverings, marble and granite, and all of these are very good. And of course you've got a search field. Now most of the time you would be using the search field to look for something suitable. So let's have a look at, oh no, stones. Okay, so look at these. Lots and lots of different stone finishes. And if I click it, come over here, I can just drop this on. And so now I have this stone finish. Okay, this stone finish. Now if we look a little closer at it, does it need to be bigger? So we have the opportunity here to change its size, its scale, its repetition, okay, using these tools that we can see down the side. So first thing I want to find is the scale changing elements. So under the UV settings here, we can change the scale. So I'm going to bring this up. And as I do so, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, in this particular scene, for most of my materials, I found that increasing the scale up to about 5 tends to produce a pretty good result. right, like so. So we can swap these out, and as I say, there are thousands. Okay, other elements that we can add in here, and there's all sorts of other settings that you've got the capacity to change what it looks like. There's even, you can even add grunge, which is basically the ability to weather it, add dirt effectively to the overall look on here. About rocks, yes, we can just add rocks, and you can see we've got different scales of different rocks in here, and you can click and you can drag a rock in like so. So I've added this rock in here. Okay. Whoops, a daisy. My apologies. Now, you have gizmos. You can see these gizmos, and that means I can decide whereabouts I actually want to put it. Now, using your tab key, you've got the capacity to change the different ways that this looks. So you get these different rotators, and you can also change the scale of these. So I could make it a little rock, or I could make it a big rock. Okay, so many of the assets that we bring in, you can simply change the shape, size and scale, orientation of them to suit the effect that you're actually looking for. So how do we go about actually exporting any of our images and scenes? Okay, down at the bottom we have got materials, populate, and media. Let's go to the media. So in the media settings, what we can do is decide, well, is it going to be an image? Or is it going to be a movie? Is it going to be a panorama? Okay. And you then make and add a scene. Right. So let's go to movie for a starter. All right. And where do we want to go? Now let's choose a starting scene. I think we will start about here. And what we can do is add a new video. So this is our starting scene. Right? I'm then going to move forward. And let's come down slightly as well, like so. And then I'm going to add another scene. Then we'll move forward. Now, if you've ever done any animations and walkthroughs, even in Revit, it's always going to be about setting up the appropriate scenes, and sometimes it takes a little moment to get these in the ideal position to get the scene working properly. So we'll do another scene here, then going to go inside, add another scene. So these are keyframes we're creating, right? Keyframes. So going to turn around and create another scene, and we go forward and create another scene. Then we go forward again, and turn this around, and we'll create one more. Now obviously I'm doing this on the fly and I'm doing it very quickly, but you get the idea hopefully. And we can then, I'm going to go forward again, just come to the side, like so. And that will probably do. I'll do one more. Okay, so in here we can specify how long video, what is the timing of this. So let's say that I want to transition from the start scene to the end keyframe, and I'd like that to take 25 seconds. So I can specify 25 seconds. Let's go back to our beginning scene, and let's press play. We can see how it works out. So this is not rendering it at the moment. This is like preview mode, so you can see how the transitions are working. Does it work for you? You do need to make some adjustments, exclude some of your scenes or include new ones. Notice that you can add additional scene keyframes in between. So Then once you've got this, you can simply hit this export button. And if you're happy with the output, you can export it. Okay. And then it will create a video. So I hope you found this useful as an introduction to what Twinmotion is, how to get it, the range of materials that you've got, the ability to be able to change your settings in here so that you can view your scene however you prefer to. It's entirely up to you how you look at it. And then, of course, being able to embellish it with the literally hundreds of thousands of additional content elements that we have got via the library. So we will be running training courses on this if it's of interest. Obviously, we only have a limited time during this session, but as you can see, it's a very powerful tool. So there we go. That was our semi-live demo. Hope you found it useful. And so without further ado, you can contact me at greg.benson-shettle@greytech.com. You can always connect with me at LinkedIn. And thank you very much. Bye for now. Hello, everyone. I am here. Hello there. Yeah, so if you have any questions, please feel free to use the ask question option. I can answer them live now, and also we can answer some of them a bit later as well. So there's a ask a question dialog box, which hopefully is being highlighted on your screen at the moment. So if you do have any immediate questions, we had a question earlier from Kathy. It asked, when we put the rain on, did it rain inside the house, for example? And well, the answer is no. We've got a roof on there, which sounds, when you say it out loud like that, but it does work. Does animation from 3ds Max import? What a good question. So what you'd be thinking about there would be not the animation, of course, because an animation's an animation. Or are you talking about the keyframes? When will push to cloud be available? Could you yes, regarding the imports, yeah, you'd be talking about the geometry there, Kathy. I imagine you're talking about the geometry. So, yeah. Ooh, lots of questions coming in. Okay. Let's have a look. I imagine that's a geometry, so you can probably export it out as a file format from 3ds Max to do that. Dave asks, when will push to cloud be available? Could you expand on what you mean by push to cloud? I'm not quite sure what you mean there. Are you talking about being able to edit all of this live on the cloud and effectively having Twinmotion, the program, in the cloud? Is that what you mean? I'm not quite sure. Animation of objects. Yes, we have got animation of objects. So for things like doors, you can, there are techniques you can use to, so that doors open by themselves. In one of my videos, I did also show some furniture, for example, coming up out of the ground. And also, it's possible to set up a scene with phasing as well, which means you could do like a construction animation. Okay, you could do a construction animation, so you could see the ground come in, and then you could see the walls come up, and things of that nature. Nikki asks, we are within the architectural, mechanical, and electrical industry for the pharmacy industry. How does Twinmotion fit within the design process? Good question. So if you have installed or in your Revit model, if you've brought in all of your MEP features as well as the architectural features, then of course it means that you're going to be in a position to present those, okay, in a very nice way and produce these animations very quickly. Now, regarding the electrical side of things, if we're thinking about lighting, there's a feature in the lighting, for example, whereby if you change the time of day, the lighting would only come on at night, which is a nice feature. Also, we've got the IES categories. So if you've got lighting that is going to be meeting a certain IES standard, which is the electrical illumination protocols, then you can add a IES file to a particular piece of lighting, and then it would actually reflect how that looks. Also, in the lighting settings that are available with the Twinmotion lights, there is a huge number of IES settings already available. So you could, yeah, absolutely, you could help there. You could help with that. JBL, yes. Path file, keyframe. Let's have a look. Does it support VR? Well, some of the output that we have got available is indeed VR. Absolutely. That is one of the settings that we have. Okay, we can do that. So your output would be to create a VR scene. So that's one of the output types. Paid fish, right. Derek asks, if you have a few Revit models, okay, linked together, would that cause a few problems in changing the materials or the door or the window framing and the animations? Okay. Good question. Now, this, I mentioned about the methodology of bringing in the components. Now, I didn't have time to highlight this. However, there was a pergola at the back, which was actually effectively a LinkedIn file. It's a pergola that's been produced, that I produced in Formit. Now, if you're not aware of Formit, Formit is Autodesk's version of SketchUp. Okay, so it was an external file that was linked in, and it had different components. Now, providing you load it in a particular way where every single element is its own individual part, that means that you can assign materials to each part. So therefore, if you had, for example, timber, some elements of timber, you need to see the grain running vertically. Some elements of timber, you would need them to be the grain to be running horizontally or diagonally. So providing you bring them in so that all of your parts are separate, then you can apply and you can rotate the finishes on those different parts. Okay, so hopefully, Derek, that helps answer your question. Nikki asks, can you link Twinmotion into Navisworks? Can you link Twinmotion into Navisworks, or do you mean can you bring Navisworks into Twinmotion? Because obviously It's a good question. I'm assuming you mean can you bring a Navisworks scene into Twinmotion and then add materials to it? That's a very good question, and I would have to get back to you on that one. I'm not sure. If I'm interpreting your question correctly, of course. Okay, wow, a lot of good questions there. Any other questions? And hopefully I've answered them to your satisfaction. If not, please keep them coming. JBA, there was another question from Kathy here. Which 3ds materials work best? Standard or mental ray? Okay, so that's talking about 3ds. So you have got the 3ds materials. So within, or you've got the mental ray, which is a bit like V-Ray and other add-on programs that you can get in there. If I'm right, I'm not a 3D Studio Max guru at all. Mental ray, wasn't that built into Max some years ago? So those, I mean, obviously there's with Revit, for example, on the materials, you have, some years ago, they introduced higher quality materials. So you'll notice when you're selecting materials in the material browser via Revit, you'll discover that there are some that have got little exclamation marks on. And if you hover over those exclamation marks, it will say, try using one of the newer versions of this file. So there are some better materials that are part of the Autodesk material library, which 3D Studio Max uses as well. So, I mean, the materials that we've got in Twinmotion are better than the Autodesk material library in some cases, which is one of the reasons why we would take it into a live rendering program such as Twinmotion. Hopefully that kind of answers your question. If not, please feel free to drop me a line and we can discuss it further. And that goes for anything, any other questions you've got. Got some other ones come in from Dave. Export Navis to FBX and then bring in Twinmotion. Okay. I will definitely have to get back to you. There's a good, it will probably be down, you might have a Datasmith export plugin available, and then you can export it out to a Datasmith file is what I would suggest immediately, but I would need to come back to you and to confirm that. But I know it can bring in an assortment of different files from different formats, from different, all sorts of different 3D programs. So it has got a wide gamut of file formats that can be brought in via various tools. Okay. Okay, just checking to see if I have missed any questions. Animation of objects, again, I think there was a question there that follow a path or keyframe. Yeah, absolutely. We can, if I didn't spot that one, I do apologize. Yes, we can set up paths for people, vehicles. So you can actually set up like city scenes, urban scenes where you've got cars driving by and people walking around. And in fact, I use Twinmotion for an architectural course that I was on. Oh, goodness knows how many years ago was it? Must have been 4 or 5 years ago now. And yeah, I included in that study that I did 4 or 5 years ago using Twinmotion, I was able to create a live scene with people hustling and bustling around the place and making it all good. There's also sound that you can add as well. Obviously, that brings a whole new dynamic to your animations as well. Okay, do we have any more questions? Thank you so much for all your questions and your input. Are there collision triggers? Yes, there are. That was an easy one. Yes, there are collision triggers, so that you can set things up so that when you're positioning things, they won't go halfway through walls, or when you're walking around a scene as well, you can set those sorts of things up. So yes, there are collision triggers. This is a great set of questions coming in. Thank you very much. I'm glad you found this of interest. It is a brilliant piece of software. I do love it. And it's the fact that I can go back into Revit, for example. I can tweak my Revit model around, and it dynamically it will update the animated scene that I'm working on as well. You can just flip between the two. You don't have to shut one down and open another one up. It's a live link. You might sometimes you in the Revit pull down list, you might need to actually just force it to update sometimes, but a lot of the time it will just update automatically. But you can just push that link just in case it misses. Can you change the pivot points on objects? I assume you're talking about if you want to rotate things around it. So if you wanted to, rather than rotate around the center of something, you want to so you want. Oh yes, absolutely. I see what you're talking about. Yeah, that's one of the key. Yeah, there wouldn't be a point in being able to open for a door to open from its midpoint. That would be yes. I see where you're coming from. Yeah, you can change the pivot points. Yes, you can. Things need to swing open and close logically, sensibly, don't they? So we are going to be running some training courses on this. Can you automatically replace Revit families with Twinmotion assets when it's directly linked? Okay. So someone else asks us, can we automatically replace families? I don't believe we can. No. Because, yeah, and you wouldn't want it to do that ad hoc across the entire range. In the Twinmotion assets, there are literally, when I say hundreds of thousands, I mean it. So which asset would it replace it with? You know, it wouldn't know. And there could be some very specific families that you have in your Revit model that you definitely do not want swapping out for anything, because they are specific manufacturer elements or families that you have created to represent a certain thing. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, regarding the trees, that would be good. Again, no, I don't think there's any automatic replacement. The trees that we have in Revit, I don't think they translate over anyway, because they're a different type. What is the largest size model you can import? Luminati can do 50K. Can do a 50-kilometer. I'd need to have a look at the spec sheet on that one to see what that would be. I think logic says that, you know, Twinmotion is designed, I mean, you can do whole city blocks and you can do massive scenes in there. 50 kilometers, however, that is okay. It does exist in Enscape, the feature to replace specific families, replacing specific. So I take it you're an Enscape expert. So with the way that works, the Serenus does it. I imagine you must have a mapping technique, so you can tell Enscape which to swap for what, I imagine. Would that be fair to say? Does it work on a mapping that you have to set up? And I imagine it would have to, because I can't see how it would know what to swap for what, because there can be so many minor variations within a particular genre or category or type. Okay. I do not know if Twinmotion has got such a mapping thing. I'll have to investigate it. It's a great question. Thank you. And I'll try to get back to everybody on these questions that I haven't been able to answer. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to, as much as I'm enjoying this interaction, and I do appreciate your all of this, it's really interesting, and obviously there's a large space for discussion here. Unfortunately, it's now come to 11 o'clock, and I have another appointment that I need to get to. So let's have a look. I've tested the Datasmith export add-in for Navisworks, and it will not export geometry from Navis. Now, TM support suggests it is fixed in the latest add-in for Navisworks. Oh, interesting. Good news. And so that answers, obviously, the Navisworks question we had earlier. So, yes, it's going to be a Datasmith exporter, as I suspected it might be. Righty-ho. I hate to say goodbye, but we do need to, unfortunately, now. Thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you for your questions. And those few questions that I was unable to give a definitive answer about, I will definitely be looking into those, and I will get back to you with those questions. I hope you found this useful. From the amount of input and the questions, I'm assuming it's a topic of great interest. So thank you very much. It is a great product. I do love it a lot. And I will now say thank you and goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.